we're going to start with our speakers tonight and then go into our business meeting after that. We have Marcy Patterson and Chuck Jennings, both running in the primary for coroner. And Susan Glenn is going to introduce both of them, and then they'll get started, and after they speak, we'll have some questions and answers.
And Marcy has generously asked you to go first, if that's okay. And I'll introduce you. I didn't know if you wanted to come up so you can.
Sure.
Okay, come on up and I'll just do an introduction, we'll do it that way. Welcome you to the Morgan County Republican Women's Club for our monthly meeting. And I was excited that we have two candidates for Morgan County coroner in the primary. And I'll just say briefly a little bit about you, Chuck, and then maybe perhaps 10 to 15 minutes you can give us your vision on what you would like to see for the coroner's office and you hope to accomplish. Chuck Jennings has a master's in public health. He retired after 28 years with the state. He serves on the Board of Health, serves as a trustee, and also, I'm just going to tell you about a lot of other things, but basically he's married, he has 4 daughters, 10 grandchildren, and he enjoys travel. So I'll let you go ahead and talk and tell us about your vision for the office.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you all for inviting me to come to your meeting. I'm really impressed and I really appreciate it. I've tried to show an interest in being the coroner of Morgan County for a number of years, and I really feel it's good that we've got a contested race in Morgan County, and I hope it's good to get out here and be able to talk to everyone and to learn who you all are and what we have going in Morgan County. As I was introduced, I do have a strong background in public health, and I currently am president of the County Board of Health, and I'm retired, and was trained as what's called a medical epidemiologist. Now, an epidemiologist is a person who investigates epidemics. So I've spent my career investigating disease outbreaks. Such in the past here in Jacksonville, if you remember the meningitis outbreak a few years ago, the hepatitis B outbreak from the salad bar at Ponderosa, and a lot of that's the kind of stuff that I did. My specialty was the diseases that are preventable by vaccines. So I investigated measles, mumps, the outbreaks of whooping cough, influenza, and if I was still actively working, I'd do the coronavirus. But I like to follow it. It's very interesting as to what's going on. So I'd like to take those skills, and I think it's basically what the coroner's office does. To investigate the deaths, to even having an inquest once in a while. I think that's good for the county, and I'd like to see that come back. I don't know all the facts on it, but I have asked around, and it's hard to remember. Probably Marcy knows, but it's hard for anyone to remember when the last inquest was in Morgan County, and I'd like to bring that back. I think it's a necessary part of being a coroner. I know when I've studied the state laws of being a coroner in Illinois, and one of the things it talks about is the coroner is obligated to take on a cause that they promote occasionally to the citizens of the county. Well, I'd like to say tonight that I'm I'm gonna take on two causes. I'm gonna take on the suicides among veterans, and I'm gonna promote adult immunizations. I think it's important that we all know what we need as we go into our later years as adults, and see that everyone's protected and stays healthy. That's I think that's the role of everything. So I don't have much more to say, but I've got some information about my background. I've got some pamphlets to take with you. Take a pamphlet with you, put it on your refrigerator door. It'll help you remind you that the election day is November 17th. And I've been trying to associate that with St. Patrick's Day to get out and vote. And I'll probably see you all in the parade on March 15th or 14th, excuse me. And I'm looking forward to I've been promoting good turnout for the election this time. I hope we have a real good turnout. I think I've been able to register a lot of people who voted. I was really surprised, and in this good group to tell, I was really surprised as I was going around getting my petitions and trying to talk to people. I was really surprised at the number of people in Morgan County that are not even registered to vote. I'd like to see that changed, and I've made an effort to do that. So I'll stick around for a while, and if you got any questions, I'll be happy to talk to anyone, and hope to see you all at the polls. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, very enlightening. I have a few questions for you later about this anti-vaccine. I'd like to introduce our Morgan County coroner, Marcy Patterson. If you want to come on up. She's also, besides being coroner, which is a very busy office, you are also a Jacksonville business owner of The Source. You have served as coroner since Jeff Lair retired. Also, you've been there 10 years, and you also have emergency medical training as well as paramedic health investigation training. One thing you're really proud of, and we all are proud of our veterans, you are a veteran of and served in the Gulf War. You've also served as Ward 3 Alderman, and basically you want to promote the coroner's office and serve to the best of your ability, I'm sure. Continue that. You're married, have 2 children, and 6 grandchildren. Okay, so I'll turn it over to you, Marcy, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Like you said, my name is Marcy Patterson. Thank you for having me at this event tonight. I've been with the Morgan County Coroner's Office since 2009. Shortly after I was hired into that position, I was certified by the Law Enforcement Training Association as a certified death investigator. After 5 years with the coroner's office, it got really big for me. They started paying me $36 a month. So I really got committed after that. And I went to St. Louis University and became certified as a legal death investigator. I'm very excited to be replacing Jeff Lair as Jeff's ending his 40 years. I can't tell you why he quit doing inquest. An inquest is to help a coroner determine a cause of death. I don't know, maybe at 40-year mark you don't need nearly as much help as you do at the 10-year mark. I don't want to speak to why he stopped that, so I'm not going to. What I will tell you is since October 1st, the Morgan County Coroner's Office has run 138 death calls. Of those 138 death calls, 3 of them have been suicides, 3 of them have been motor vehicle accidents, okay? Of those, 55 of them required me to leave my home and go somewhere and provide a service. The coroner doesn't have an office per se here in the county. We have a filing area. We kind of work out of our cars. We're on the go and we go where people are, so there's not much of a need for us to have a place to be. We don't intend to change that. One of the things that has been changed since October is all of our files have been moved from the different storage locations throughout Morgan County to one centralized location so we can put our hands on our history without going out to look for it. We're very excited about that. The staff that we have has stayed the same. I tease about them that they get to stay because they make me feel young. They have 100 years of law enforcement experience between them. I have no law enforcement experience. I'm not a police officer. I will never pretend to be. As a death investigator, what I'm required to do is investigate why someone died with the help of a hired forensic pathologist, with the help of local police departments and law enforcement agencies, with the help of studies that are available to us, and of course an inquest if we need that. So I don't need to be a police officer in order to successfully fulfill the roles of coroner. And again, I won't go to that level. That's not anything that I have interest in. What I do have interest in, and I've had interest in for a very long time, is being the go-between between a person in their very worst moment and their family. Because unfortunately, no matter when you die or how you die, the state of Illinois requires me to walk up to you and shake you out of your grief and say, hey, I have some questions. I need to get an answer to those right now. And I think it's very important that that's done with kindness and with compassion, without threat or badges or guns or ammo or tactical gear. I don't need any of those things. I want to go into people's homes and represent Morgan County and facilitate for them, for that family, what's going on from now on, between the funeral home and them in the Morgan County Coroner's Office. And to get them a cause of death, the one that is right and that is legal. If you look back over statistical records in Morgan County, one of the things you find is so I just told you we have this 135 people. We have 6 of these people that they get a breath in because they committed suicide or they died in a car wreck. All of the others, so we can go with, just for the sake of easy math, 100 of them, 25 of them might have died of old age, 50 might have died of cancer, okay? But of the ones that died from old age, it's very possible all it says on their death certificate is something like cardiac disease, okay? And that's one of the things that I would like to see us adjust a little bit. The death certificate wants to know the cause of death. I would like us to start gleaning information about disease processes that tell statistically more. So when we're providing information to the state of Illinois, instead of just saying we had 25 people die of coronary artery disease, we can say we had 25 people die of coronary artery disease, but of those, 18 smoked. And 13 did this and 12 did that. And that's statistical information. As Chuck knows, we've always had that available, but we probably haven't, as a community or as a coroner's office, tracked it well enough to share it, to give the output that we might need for statistical benefit. My causes aren't going to change from what they have for the past 10 years. I'm passionate about the distracted driving cause. Okay, that is the #1 killer of our children, distracted driving, and that will be the thing I continue to look at and pursue as something that matters to our office. The second one that I would like to take on, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to get the state's attorney's office involved and a whole bunch of police officers. I want to address the adolescent drug problem that we have here in the city of Jacksonville. And I'm not talking about smoking pot, I'm talking about really nice kids doing really bad drugs because they're available to them. And that's a problem that we're struggling with and we're not addressing correctly, and I'd like to be part of championing that as we move forward after March 17th. Chuck's very right. We don't have enough voters in Morgan County. They're gonna, hopefully not, but they're probably gonna embarrass us again on March 17th because we're not gonna get enough people to come out and help decide what happens next because we're waiting on other people to decide that. For me, it's very important that it doesn't matter as much who you vote for as that you get out and vote to represent the person you want to move forward in our community. And also, we shouldn't ever have unopposed elections. We need to get candidates on the ballot as a party. And, you know, Chuck told me himself that he's wanted to have this job for a really long time. And I learned his name when I heard he was getting on the ballot. So if we have people in our community that we know have an interest in jobs, we, as a party of Republican members, need to find those people and get them ready so that we have groups of people. There should be 5 people up here with me and Chuck saying, hey, that's a job I have an interest in as well. So thank you for having me here. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions about our office, let me know.
Thank you. Well, and I guess we'll open it up now for questions of each candidate and go from there. I just had a question on the anti-vaccine movement. It seems like do you think the increase in the amount of measles and all those diseases resurfacing has to do with that? Or I know it contributes some to deaths, so.
Absolutely it has. The anti-vaccine movement has been more and more powerful over the years. And people who are away from being popular in the United States have gotten measles back in the United States now. Back in my career, we had actually eliminated measles from the United States. Now it's back because of the anti-vaccine and people taking philosophical reasons for not having their children immunized. And yeah, that is a big reason.
Which they can cause death, right? I mean, in children and the elderly.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I wrote a chapter in a medical textbook about the measles outbreak we had in '85 at Prince College. And we had three students died from that. And normally you would expect 0.02% deaths in the United States from measles. And here we had 3 in 1 year right here in Illinois. Yeah, so that's my interest in particularly the adult immunizations right now. We as adults really need to be aware of what we need. And just something I'd like to push for the opportunity.
I have another question.
You don't actually have to go like to the nursing home or assisted living place every time, and
Some of them, not every time.
you just take their information and put it on the death certificate.
We take their information and then we require them to send us in the past year's medical records. And we have those in the file and review them.
What are the cases where you would go?
Fall, possible abuse, not a cause of death that matches any medical conditions.
Is this a full-time job, I assume?
I don't know, Friday to Sunday of this weekend, I got in all my 40 hours. Sometimes it is. It's not billed as it's not an 8 to 5 job. That's not anything the county's ever had it set up for. We have a phone, but the phone goes into a service, so our phones answer 24 hours a day. Our office doesn't have any sort of administrative help or receptionist or anything, so it's not staffed. But we are always available. Like the police officers, the 911 centers, all the hospital centers, everybody knows how to reach us.
Why is this a partisan, political, Republican, Democrat position? It seems to me it would be better appointed, probably. Do you know why?
Probably. So lots of communities, I think, started out maybe with a coroner, but also a death investigator, and then I'm not sure how I got to this point exactly.
I'm not either, but that's a very good question. Yeah.
I also don't think it's a political position. I can tell you in 1996 on the side of the interstate when I decided I was gonna be the coroner. You know, so, my training and my skills and my resume should allow me the opportunity to be hired for the job. And Chuck, you know, because clearly, so it's interesting that it's a political job.
And all the autopsies are performed in Springfield or some done at Passville, or
No, they're
depends?
all in Springfield, except right now they're in McLean County,
Wow, because
because Dr. Patterson left.
it's up there.
Is that something that you attend as a coroner? Or
Once in a while, if it's a criminal case, we go with the police department.
How many employees are in the coroner's office?
One,
Just one. But the death investigators, are they,
that's the coroner.
the coroner is the death investigator?
There's the coroner, and then there's a chief deputy coroner, and then there's one other deputy position available. $13,000 is the divided salary between the two other positions. So it's just a step above a volunteer position.
And that's what you were doing before?
No, I was one down below that in the no money. So I was 5 years in the no money, and then I was in, one of the guys gets $3,000 a year stipend, and then the chief deputy gets $10,000 a year. So,
You have a chief deputy now?
the chief deputy, so we all just moved in order of, I was the chief deputy when I became the coroner, and I'd like to, I don't wanna change this around, but I was Jeff Flair's paramedic partner at Patterson Hospital for a brief period of time, so, and then Dave McCullum was his chief deputy, and Dave retired, and then I became his chief deputy. And then when, Jeff retired, the middle money guy, Phil McCarty, who was the Morgan County Emergency Manager, moved up to the chief deputy. And then we brought, Greg Lowe, who was retired Department of Corrections officer. I don't know if you guys know Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, Greg moved into
Oh, okay.
the light money, and, we talked Dave McCullum into coming back. Richard Evans has been on the coroner's office roster for years.
Yeah.
Ed Leach has been on the coroner's office roster for years, in volunteer capacity. So, you would think you wouldn't need that many people, but if you have calls scheduled
Oh, yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just like for this 1 hour, I started in line, and it was guy number 3, I was like, take call. Like, you can't make me go answer the phone in the middle of this. I'm like, well, you can. So,
Wow.
any other questions?
Just as a point of discussion on, when you talk about immunizations, Chuck, for adults, the adult immunizations, but in Illinois, we allow kids not to get immunizations if the parents don't want kids to be immunized. And now, I think a couple of years ago, it requires a physician now to sign off on it. Is that going to change, do you think, in the future?
Right now in Illinois, you can do a religious objection, and the law defines religious objection as one person can constitute a religion. Yeah. And then they threw in, the legislature threw in, you could have a philosophical reason for not getting a position. But that has been taken off now, and you can no longer have a philosophical reason. And the organized churches will basically, such as a Catholic school, the person said, their religion doesn't allow them to, inject stuff into their bodies. The Catholic school will say, well, no, our religion doesn't do that, and you're sitting in our school. And then they have to be immunized,
Oh, okay.
unless the parent goes another route. But they can't do philosophical anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, great.
I want to know what your coronavirus studies are telling you.
Coronavirus? Well, I've been following that, and it's number one, most importantly, China's not telling the truth.
Really?
They're not telling the truth to their own people or anybody else. And it did not start in the fish market. It came, the scientists have determined that it came from, that the coronavirus is man-made. The one that's occurring right now, it is man-made, and it came from a biological laboratory in Wuhan, which is just up the road from that fish market. The virus escaped, someone may have carried it out with them or whatever, probably an accident, but it escaped and it got into the fish market. Okay, so, government of China can now say, well, it came from the fish market, because there were a lot of spread from that fish market. But amazingly enough, what seems to be treating the coronavirus the best right now is because looking at it as a man-made virus, it does include the AIDS virus. And your AIDS treatment is killing the virus. So that's what they're working on to develop a
It
vaccine.
is killing the virus, the AIDS treatment?
Yeah,
Wow.
AIDS treatment. So that's what they're working toward, to develop a vaccine, but it will still take 9 months at least to make a vaccine. But that's, no, I don't think we have much to worry about here in the United States. Our medical facilities are such that we get it taken care of right away, but it still could be a threat.
Is China's minimizing the numbers, or,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
hear different numbers every day about deaths and new cases, and it's all varies.
Absolutely, when the government totally quarantines 7 cities of 40 million people, you know that they are not counting right or correctly. So it's, they have absolutely, there are 4 or 5 cities around Wuhan that are totally shut down. And so it has to be worse than what they're saying.
So how did they get on the whole cruise ship thing? People boarded and they were sick when they boarded, or?
They were incubating. The coronavirus has a 2-week incubation period. In other words, if I was exposed to someone in here that had coronavirus, and I could go 2 weeks before I show symptoms. But before I show symptoms, I'm spreading it to someone else, before you even know I'm sick. So that's a danger already. So the 2 cases in Illinois are both from Chicago, and the man and wife. The man traveled to Wuhan, China. He came back and he was sick, and then he spread it to his wife. So
The 2 cases in Illinois
yeah.
so far, yes.
Mhm.
But they've contained the cruise ship, or they're allowed to, that's
Well,
got so many,
again-
I guess?
Again, that's questionable. It depends on, the person's skill that's running that. But they've done fairly good, with the exception of the ones that came off that cruise ship. I think there were 14 of them that came to the United States. We then made them stay another 2 weeks in isolation, they'd already stayed in
Okay.
isolation.
Okay.
Just in case, because of that 2-week period, just in case if they were walking off the ship, they passed someone who could have exposed them.
Wow.
So it's important for them to do that.
And did you read about the Israelis and their mask? Did you read about that too, and that the mask they made is not just a regular mask, and it actually kills the virus? And they've been shipping them, the Israelis have been shipping them over.
I read the headline, then I didn't read the article.
Yeah.
I'll hold that. Take a look.
want to thank the candidates for.
Thank you.
Both of you are